The story begins in 1976. Bell Bottom is a supervillain being pursued by the Anti-Villain League as she races across the city after stealing a map. Following her victory over the AVL agents, Bell returns to her hiding place at the Criminal Records record store. There, she meets the other members of her team, the Vicious Six, including their founder, Wild Knuckles, as well as members Stronghold, Nunchuck, Vengeance, and Jean-Claude. They examine the map and discover that it details the location of an artifact known as the Zodiac Stone. Using this artifact during Chinese New Year transforms its users into fearsome beasts. In search of the stone, the Vicious Six flew to a remote island. Wild Knuckles enters the temple and discovers the Zodiac Stone, but he is ambushed by a swarm of small metal guardians as he does so. He fights them and then flees the temple, only to discover that more temple guards are pursuing him. The remaining 5 of the 6 pull Knuckles up, but then they steal the stone from him and turn the tables on him, telling him that he is too old to lead the team and that new blood is needed. They throw Knuckles into the water and then pull them out. Young Gru is 11 years old and has always wanted to be a supervillain. As a result, the other kids regard him as an oddball and avoid his company. Kevin, Bob, and Stuart arrive to pick him up, all Pierre Coffin, along with the rest of the minions. They return to Gru's house, where he discovers something that was sent to him in the mail. It's a message from Bell Bottom, as Gru applied to join the Vicious Six because he's their biggest fan and Knuckles is his favorite villain. The message's context is that Knuckles is Gru's favorite villain was. Gru receives an invitation from Bell to attend an audition at the Criminal Records store. Gru is overjoyed, believing that his time as a supervillain has finally come. He is only seen living with his unsupportive mother, Marlena, and the rest of the minions he has hired as henchmen. He is only seen living with them. Gru informs the minions of the exciting news, and they enthusiastically rally behind their mini-boss, despite Gru's displeasure with the moniker. It has been discovered that Wild Knuckles is still alive and well, and that he is currently residing in his mansion with 3 of his goons. He still hasn't recovered from being kicked off his own team by the Vicious Six, and now he's heard that they're looking for a new member to join them. This has left him bitter. The next day, Gru arrives at Criminal Records and meets a younger version of Dr. Nefario, and described as an ambitious mad scientist. He shows Gru one of his most recent inventions, a rifle that fires a sticky green hand that can grab anything. Nefario hands it to Gru before leading him through the secret passageway leading to the Vicious Six lair. When he finally meets them, however, they dismiss him for being a child because Jean-Claude mistook him for a small man when they were reviewing his application as they leave. Another candidate enters and tries to impress everyone with his pilot outfit, but his jetpack malfunctions, causing him to soar erratically through the air. The Vicious Six attempt to stop him, diverting their attention just as Gru discovers the Zodiac Stone hidden behind them. He steals the stone with the revolver that Nefario gave him, but the 6 of them track him down and start pursuing him. Gru finally catches up with the other minions and hands the stone to one of them, Otto. Gru flees on his horse, pursued by the 6 warriors. He disables Stronghold and Nunchuck, and when Bell and Vengeance grab a hold of Gru's bike, he uses the rocket to get them out of there as quickly as possible. Knuckles, who was present the entire time, now follows Gru around in his vehicle after witnessing everything that occurred. When Gru and the other minions return home, they wait for Otto to return from work. When he does, he presents Gru with a rock with googly eyes attached as a gift. Otto continues, "I ended up going through a series of unfortunate events until I ended up at a birthday party, where I traded the stone for money." The pet rock being given away to the birthday boy Gru is furious as a result of Otto's error, and he immediately fires all of the minion employees. He sets out on his own to find the stone, but as he walks down the street, the goons working for Knuckles apprehend him and force him into their van, while Kevin watches from outside the vehicle's window. He then informs the other minion employees that their boss has been kidnapped. Gru is led to the location where Wild Knuckles has been hiding. Knuckles is disappointed to learn that Gru does not have the stone, which makes Gru ecstatic at the prospect of meeting his hero. He calls Gru's house in an attempt to coerce his mother into paying a ransom, but Kevin answers. Knuckles tells him that he must bring the stone to San Francisco within the next 2 days or else he will be killed. Otto, Kevin, and Stuart visit the child to whom Otto gave the stone, and Bob joins them. The child explains that he handed it over to his uncle, RZA, who is already riding away on a motorcycle. Otto and the other 3 minions pursue him on a tricycle, looking for a bus that promises to take them to San Francisco. They travel to the airport, where they don disguises and pretend to be someone else, pilots and flight attendants, in order to board the next flight. Kevin and Stuart attempt to fly, but they end up ruining everything by pressing all of the buttons and causing a slew of problems before safely landing. Knuckles torments Gru by putting him in a device that looks like a record player and moves him closer and closer to rotating saws. He sends his minions out into the world. They attempt to seize them because they believe they have the stone, and as a result, they end up in Chinatown, where an acupuncturist named Master Chow watches the goons beat on the minions. Regardless, Chow demonstrates exceptional kung fu skills and fights off the goons. When the minions beg Chow to teach them her abilities, she informs them that she is no longer active in that line of work. Nonetheless, she yields after the 3 of them give her the puppy dog look. Following the incident, the henchman decided to abandon Knuckles. He puts Gru to work around the house after rescuing him from the trap. Knuckles drowns while trying to clean his crocodile-infested pool. Knuckles is grateful to Gru for rescuing him and dragging him out of the pit where he was trapped. He brings Gru with him. They pose as a grandfather and grandson in order to rob the Bank of Evil. Knuckles pretends to have a heart attack so that Gru can steal Mr. Perkins' house keys. Gru's attempt to steal the Mona Lisa is successful, much to Knuckles' delight. Otto chases the biker across several states on his tricycle, but he is unable to keep up with him and eventually loses sight of him. Otto is eventually discovered by the biker, who picks him up, rides him to San Francisco on his motorcycle, and hands him the stone. Chow teaches the Minion gang various martial arts, but most of the time, rather than improving their skills, the Minion gang injures themselves. Despite Chow's claim that they have only received basic training, they are able to improve their skills quickly. Unfortunately, the minions have already escaped and are on their way to assist Gru. The Vicious Six find Gru's house, rip off the roof, and question Marlena and the other minions about Gru's whereabouts. One of the minions reveals to Gru that he was kidnapped by Knuckles. The group of 6 then travels to Knuckles' house, where they rip the roof off, thoroughly search the property, and come up empty-handed. When Knuckles and Gru return, they find Gru's house destroyed. He is enraged because he knows the 6 are the ones who did this, and he is enraged because they would still try to harm him after all of the past. Despite Gru's protests, he informs him that he is giving up and instructs him to return home. A Chinese New Year parade is currently taking place downtown. Otto eventually creates a commotion by charging into the crowd. Gru notices him on the trolley and immediately pursues him. Otto shows Gru the stone, and Gru expresses his admiration for Otto. Unfortunately, the Vicious Six have caught up with them and now have Gru in their custody. It was just in time. Just as the Anti-Villain League is about to surround them, Belle seizes the stone and uses its powers to transform both herself and the crew into enormous animal monsters. Stronghold becomes a bull, Nunchuck a snake, Vengeance a tiger, and Jean Claude a monstrous monkey. Belle becomes a fire-breathing dragon, using his lobster claw arm. They capture Gru and bind him to the hands of a clock tower, which will slowly rip him apart over time. At the same time, Knuckles, Kevin, Stuart, and Bob appear to come to Gru's aid. After being transformed by Belle, the 3 are reincarnated as a rabbit, a chicken, and a ram. Regardless of the fact that Knuckles puts up a fight, Belle defeats him with her fire breath after a valiant effort. The 3 people remember what Chow said and unleash their inner beasts, defeating the mutated version of Vicious Six. Otto sets Gru free, and he immediately heads off to help his friends. The 6 are easily dispatched by the 3 minions, and Gru seizes the stone, which he then uses to transform his opponents into rats. When the AVL arrived, they took them into custody. Knuckles sustains an injury and is subsequently detained. However, he assures Gru that they will meet again soon. The scene then shifts to a funeral, where it appears that Knuckles has died. Gru provides Knuckles, only to discover that he staged his own death and is now hiding. Gru is reunited with his idol following the performance of the Minion version of You Can't Always Get What You Want, and the 2 of them continue their journey. Gru leads the rehired minions to the criminal records office, which appears to be closed. Gru asks Dr. Nefario if he'd be interested in officially working for him and building gadgets, but Nefario responds by saying he's leaving the criminal underworld. He reveals a surprise to Gru after Gru and the minions successfully persuaded him with their puppy eyes, which is the rocket car that Gru drives as an adult. The newly formed evil crew immediately sets out to commit even more heinous crimes.